Hello, in this video I want to talk about the Weave Quick Loops and Threads Weaving Loom set. It does come in plastic bag, but I took it out just to make it a little faster. Then you have the packaging. Kind of gives you a quick view on the back of how to use it, which that's exactly what you do. And then it comes with a pick, a long needle, and directions. Now last night I grabbed, I don't remember exactly the name of this yarn, which I could put that in the description. I grabbed some yarn and I did exactly what it said to do last night. And it was supposed to be a cow. I wrapped way too tight, and it's actually, this would make a really good, if I cut it down smaller, a really good cup cozy. So I'm actually going to make a cup cozy today. Things you gotta watch when you're making it, since this was my first one, you have to watch and make sure you're wrapping even. As you can see, I was not. So this was real thick. One thing I did realize is the directions have you weave in and out of every single strand, and that's what it will look like. That's the texture you'll get. If you do 2 strands at a time, you can get these full patches where the underneath collar does not show through. So with rotating these out, you can actually do designs. You could do words, there's all kinds of things that you could do, shapes. So that's actually a really cool idea, and that's something I'm definitely going to play around with and figure out. Alright, now to do this, the areas that I messed up with, I used the yarn the right thickness that it said to and everything, and I cut the 18 strands, and I added 12 inches to each strand, but I only added it to one end, so I didn't add it to both ends. I should have made it another 12 inches long. I wasn't paying attention to that. Now the cast off doesn't really, it doesn't tell you how to connect both sides together. It just tells you how to cast off each individual side. So that's what I'm going to work with as well. Today I'm going to have the bottom color black, which I'm just going to use some Caron Simply Soft, and I'm making a drink cozy, so I don't need all that extra yarn that the directions say. So I'm going to take actually, let me see if my tape measure is still sitting here. Okay. Well, I'm going to do, instead of 18 strands, I'm going to do 20. And I'll make them about this long each. I'll measure and tell you exactly how long that is. Alright, so I'm going to do that now. We got our 20 strands cut, and I measured them. They're 25 inches along each, so if there's any changes to the measurement, I'll put it in the video. It's my cat. Okay, now to cast on this bar, you've got thicker ones on this side, thinner ones on this side. I want this to be real tight, since it is a cozy that goes around like a drink. So I'm going to use this smaller side, and what I'm doing is I'm putting it in the hook on the smaller side, which I don't need to be all the way at the end, but I'm going to put it in the hook on the smaller side. And then the directions were kind of vague on exactly how to do this, so I'm just wrapping it around, and then, oops. And then I'm just twisting it and making a little knot. And then just putting it on the other side. Just throwing it over there, because we'll hook the other side in a minute. You do every single one, which I'll just start out and show you a few. I put the string down the middle because it seems to work better when the string, because then you're tying over the previous string. I'll show you a couple more. So I'm trying to keep the length of them about the same, which that's kind of hard to do. Alright, I'll show you one more and then I'll finish this up. So as you can see, I was just tying it real quick, not tying a full knot, just tying it around. And then tying the next one over top, next one over top, and just keep doing that until you get all of these tied on to this side. We have one side all hooked. I'll kind of show up close what that looks like. Now to do the other side. Now we want all of this to match up. So I am on the third one in. It's 1, 2, 3. And you're just going to do the same thing on this side. And you want to get these in the same order. So you want to make sure you're getting them one right after another. And I found that doing the knot, instead of doing the knot where it's coming out, if you twist it and go under where it's going, the string's coming out that way. The string wants to go that way and it stays a lot better. So you finish up this side and then I'll show you how you wrap. Okay, both sides are done. Now, to do your wrapping, you want this all even and you want it tight. Now it's not going to wrap exact because it won't stay in the little grooves, of course, but I'm just kind of pulling it down just to help it some, to get a little more tension on it. Since I'm using a thinner yarn than what the directions say, it is wrapping into the grooves a little better than it normally would. Alright, I gotta try. So, played around with it. I got the tension tightened up. As you can see, I got one strand of yarn coming from each of these hooks just to keep it right on this side. This side's just kind of wound around and doing its own thing. But this is the side I'm starting with. Alright, I got these all tightened up. And on this side, I got them going through, the strands going through each hook. And I got it twisted around just so those knots aren't going to come undone. I just got like one twist around. This side is just kind of doing its own thing. Some of these are a little twisted, but I can fix that as I go. The main thing is to have same distance apart up at the one end. Now, the directions say to cut 2 yards of yarn and work with that, and then cut 2 more yards when you need it. I just cut a whole bunch of yarn and I'm just going to weave it all through. That way I don't have to, hopefully I can get the project done or almost done and not have to keep adding a bunch of yarn to it, because 2 yards of yarn, excuse me, goes pretty fast. One tip, what if you're using a variegated collar yarn? What you want is you want the opposite. Okay, so look at this. You want to end with the collar, with your variegated collar. So you're going to take that end and pull through your needle, because that will be the last, and this will be the tail end. This is so long. The tail end, I'm making it very, very, very long. But that's how you want to do it. You want that to be the tail end so that your collar striping will match up. Okay, so I can get that out of the way. Now, to actually do this, you just take your tapestry needle, which in all honesty, the tapestry needle could have been just a little longer, I think. Just because if you wanted to use something that incorporated the entire loom, I'd like to see a tapestry needle with this as wide as the machine. But for just koozies and neck warmers, this will be perfectly fine. Okay, so you weave in and out every other one and pull through. And leave your tail just sticking out. Now to go back, you're going to weave opposite. Just like this. You're going to weave it opposite. Back and forth all the way down to the other end. I am a very strong right-handed person, so the going back part's a little awkward on me. Now, one thing I did, it doesn't really tell you in the directions how to hide your cast on, but let me get my lighting some. Okay. It doesn't tell you what to do with this cast on string. So what I did, which I'm going to move this down a little closer. Okay. What I did was, I just went through, oh, I actually messed up that weaving right there. Alright. Do this again. I'm going to do every other string. As you can see, you can kind of lift up and see the difference. You want every other string. And then you pull, which, see, I said mine's very, very long. So we pull this through. Now, I'm a lefty, so it's easier for me to do this way and take it back. Okay, so I've got a bit of a tail hanging out on this side. I'm going to go back and you're going to wrap opposite. So if the yarn is over the string, you're going to wrap under that string. And you're going to do this all the way back. And you can see some of this tension. It could be a little tighter. There we go. You want your tension really tight. It makes it a lot easier to do this. Okay, so let's pull that through. Okay, now the directions don't really tell you much on exactly what to do with this. It just says to weave through. So I'll just show you what I did. I took my needle and re-followed through that second row and kind of lifted it up and just pushed that string through, because then it's going to be matching. There we go. I missed one. So then it will match that same weave pattern as it's going along, and I've just got it, I ended about, halfway through here, and then just pull it tight, and then you take your pick. That's what this is for. It's just to tighten that up. Now I want this to be a little bit of a tighter weave, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that, because the first one I did, I started tightening it up later, and it was definitely noticeable. The sides didn't even up. So you do that, and then you just go back every other one. You got your cast on done now. Oops. There we go. So I'm just going to do a few rows here just to give you an idea. And you take your pick, push that up, and tighten it so that the ends are even. And you just keep going back and forth until you get it to the length you want, and then you can cast off from there. But see, I'm having trouble. These are wanting to bunch up. If you have that problem, you just undo the other end and you kind of move your strings try to keep them in their same pattern to where they're not crisscrossing. But you move it to the other end and then just tighten it up. Because once that little hook's in there, it holds it really tight. So it actually does a really good job. And then you can just keep going. But what I'm showing you to do is a very, very tight weave. So you can actually take, and if you do this, the weave real loose and do it as wide as it shows, then you can have a completely different look. But this, what I did, feels more like a rug. It's real thick. It'd be great for pot holders and stuff. But we're going to fix this cast off. So alright, just keep going until you get this the length that you want. Alright, now we got this as long as we want it. Actually, my 9-year-old daughter, she wanted to do the weaving, so she made this. I just helped out a little bit along the way with like adding new yarn, stuff like that. When you add new yarn, you just take in, let me grab some yarn here and I can give you an example. Okay, when you go to add new yarn, you take the end of the old yarn, let's just say this is one strand, and you want both of them going together for like one row, and then you push it all up. When you're done, you just cut all the little extras off. Now we're at the end of this. She has a knot right there. We don't want this hanging out, so I'm going to weave it opposite in between this right here. See how I put that in like before that one? And then tighten it up like that. When I'm done, we'll cut that off. But at this point, as you go, when this gets down a little lower like this, you just twist it up and hook it in place. But we're done with this, and now we can take it off here. We'll start with this side. Now these, you just do like that and you can pull them all off. Now the directions tell you to just tie the strings in square knots. So we'll try, let's take this side off. We'll try that and see, and then we still have to figure out how to hook it, because this one's going to be a cup koozie. Alright, almost. There we go. Alright, so off the loom, this is what it looks like. Of course, if you pay attention to what you're doing, you can get all this completely even. You can see I did, like, mine's fairly even. There's a couple spots. But my daughter did, I think she did a fantastic job for her first one. So what we're going to do is, she wanted to do 2 strands together as one. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm tying knots. Grab the next ones. And tie a knot there. And go to the next one. Which, if you're doing weaving through one at a time, then you would tie just 2 together at a time. You see how I started out the weave right here? She wanted to do to where it was completely full, where all you seen was the collar shading down. Where am I at here? Okay, so you go through both sides and you tie your knots. like that. All right, we have all the ends cut off. Actually, I see another end I need to cut. Okay, we have all the ends cut off. If the base collar and the weaving collar were the exact same, I would have left a tail and used that to tie both ends. But I'm going to use the tapestry needle that you got and get a decent length of string. And I'm going to just sew up this edge, which I'm just going to do just like that, all the way down. Now this beginning string, I'll sew over it, just like that. You want to get this up close to the top because you don't want a huge bulge there. Which, doing it this way, there will be a seam. It won't be seamless, but it shouldn't be too bad. So you just sew like this until you get to the end, which wasn't getting that in screen. Show you one more real good. Okay, this is your starting strand. We got that running down through. I'm just twisting that through, making sure I'm fairly close up at the top, and just pulling it tight. Alright, once it's at the end, that little starting strand will get lost in it. Now, here's an example. You have to be very careful with your tension because you want it to be even. This one, the beginning edge was a little wider, but it'll be okay. Now, with this string, all we do is we're just going to run it down through some of these stitches and pull it kind of tight. That way it'll stretch back up and just be lost in the stitches. Okay, so we'll flip it, oops, inside out, and here's your little koozie, which this is a big cup. So let me do this. So there you go. Got your little koozie to put on your cup. Of course, this is a very large cup, so it'll fit another cup, a smaller cup, a lot better. But for this one, I made it 10 inches long before I cast off. And there you go. Alright, I hope you guys watched this video. Some little tips I learned kind of making this video. Of course, my daughter did a wonderful job, and this is her first time ever weaving, and she's 9, and she made this for her dad. If you watch your tension, you can get the edge completely smooth, like this area right here on both sides. You just watch it as you go. This one was done with wrapping every 2, so you go under 2, over 2, under 2, over 2. If you do under 1, over 1, under 1, you know, every single strand, this is how it looks. But she wanted that fuller look, like this area right here. She wanted it to be real thick and full, and that way you could put it around, you know, a coffee cup or something. It was something with some like hot beverage in it, or even want to put it around something cold. And that's why she wanted to use that stitch. When you add yarn, you just take, overlap the new strand and the old strand for like a row. And then after I pull them in, I like to actually pull it to where both of them are kind of like that in it, and then just keep going. And then when you get the little ends pop up as you're working, you just trim those off. And see, like right there's a little end. Like you can barely see it, but I'll trim it just down to the bottom and you don't see it at all. It just completely disappears. and you do need to watch. A suggestion I have is once you have everything cast on, don't start weaving up here. Start weaving more towards the middle and get, you know, a few inches like right through the middle first. That will help you avoid having one end wider than the other end. Let me see, because this right here is flat. So if you have one end wider than the other, when you go to connect them, you're going to have a difference. The cast off I did, I just kind of looped, I just sewed it with a piece of the string, not a cast off, to connect them. So when you do that, you want to do it on whatever will be the inside of your project. That way when you flip it, it's really not going to be that noticeable. If this would have all been the same color, you really wouldn't have noticed it at all. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. Any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. This weaving loom you can actually buy at Michael's. It's made really, really good. I do like the hooks because the hooks, like I had mentioned before, it actually holds up a lot better than I expected. I expected if I put too much tension on it that this would pop out and that would roll, but it doesn't. It's just very simple. They have that little hook and that's not going anywhere. Okay, don't forget to subscribe and thank you for watching.